Rashi in this week's parsha on the pasuk of Eila Todos to Aaron and Moshe cites the sugi in Sanhedrin Daf Yites that Kol HaMalamidis Ben Chaveiro Torah Malav Okasu Ki Ilu Yelad. Teaching Torah is an opportunity literally to give birth to generation of Talmidim. Bal HaMemra is Rabbi Yonasan, the sugi of Sanhedrin Daf Yites. You look later in Sanhedrin, 80 blot later, and Daf Tzaditesim days, there the Gemara quotes a similar drasha in the name of Reish Lakish, that Esanefesh, Asher Asu V'charan, the Kol HaMalamed is Ben Chaveiro Torah, Malav HaKosav Kilu Asa'o. It's as though that you created that person. Different sugyas, different psukim, different Balei HaMemra, and different terms that the Gemara uses, Kilu Yolado and Ki'ilu Asa'o. Not so clear what exactly is the difference between creating and giving birth to. Rabbi Yelbar Finkel suggests the following, that if an uman creates a kli, it's true that he's engaged in Yetzirah, but there's no assumption of continuity, that somehow the uman who created the kli will indeed nurture. That certainly is not true when it comes to parenting, ki'ilu yelada. It's not really to give birth to a child, but rather to raise and to nurture the child. In fact, when you look in Pirkei Rabbi Elazar and Perach Chates, regarding that very pasuk, es hanefesh shel asu v'charav, yes, that Avram Avinu was Megayer es anashim, but the Pirkei Rabbi Elazar tells us in a stunning fashion, v'kulam chazru v'sura. It was not sustainable, that it was true for the moment, but somehow there wasn't that sense of continuity. And therefore, the true role of a Rebbe is to embrace both elements. A sense of Yetzirah, to be able to raise the Talmidim to a certain bar that it's as though that they are now being created, but perhaps more importantly, Kili Yelado is to serve as a parent, someone who is sustaining the ongoing existence of that particular Talmud. I would tell you, B'derech Klal, it's an opportunity to really thank all of the Rabbeim of the yeshiva for both roles that they play in terms of rearing the Talmidei HaYeshiva. No one knows better than yourselves. The care, the dedication of each and every invests in the Talmud is not merely an act of Yitzirah, but laid as something that is ongoing, something that is absolutely sustainable. And certainly on a personal level, to thank all the Rabbeim for that day in and day out commitment of Malav HaKosu, not only Kilu Aso, but Ki'ilu Yelada. An opportunity this morning on Rosh Chodesh also to acknowledge Rav Lebowitz. The 3 years that he's been in the yeshiva have been quite impactful. And I would link simply and urge that this should be an act of leid in the sense of continuity. To continue to be mashpia b'chlal, but uv'prat. To continue and foster relationship with the wonderful Talmidim that you had in our yeshiva, and the relationships that Baruch Hashem that you formed, and see to it that that's something that continues. After all, that our job as parents is to see to it that the relationship is an enduring one, it's a sustainable one, and Baruch Hashem, an opportunity to be Mekadesh Baruch Hu Barabbim in everything that we do. It's really a pleasure to call upon the Lebowitz for Divkei Preida.
One quick disclaimer before I begin. I think I've only had to speak in front of the Rosh Hashiva once before when I was in Pesayid, and it makes me very, very nervous. So, and it's Kal V'chomer when I'm in front of a group of Talmidim. No offense to the Talmidim, I'm not so nervous to speak in front of the Talmidim, but to speak in front of the Rosh Hashiva and the other rebellion is a little bit nerve-wracking for me. So I'm going to say a little Dvar Torah that I heard from somewhere, and I have no idea where. So we are definitely not bringing the Geula right now, because it could be that it's from the Rosh Hashiva. It could be that I'm saying the Rosh Hashiva's Torah, and I have no idea. I didn't have in my notes where I got it from, but I thought it was a very powerful message for the Talmidei HaYeshiva and a very powerful message for all of us. You know, there's a machlokas in chinuch, in the world of chinuch. There was a machlokas. It seems to have been decided already whether it's helpful to have images, to have pictures, when you teach children about certain things. You teach about the kalim of the Mishkan or of the Mikdash. Is it better to have a picture that they can look at and say, oh, that's what it's talking about, and they'll be able to identify it? Or is it better that they draw the picture in their own mind's eye so that they're able to adjust the picture based on different shitos and rishonim, based on different possibilities? There are those Gedolei Yisrael that held that it stifles the imagination if you provide a picture. And a picture should therefore not be provided, that they have to come up with it on their own from reading the words. But in addition to stifling the imagination, we all have a picture probably in our head of what the Aron looked like. Right? We've seen pictures of the Aron. So the challenge with that is that not everybody agreed exactly what the Aron looked like. And it could be that the picture we have in our head is like Rov Rishonim. It could be the picture we have in our head is like Indiana Jones. It could be that there's no shaykhs to any Rishonim whatsoever. But that's the picture that we have in our heads. And it's helpful sometimes to take a step back and say, okay, is the picture that I have in my head, is that the correct picture? Is that really L'kulei Alma? And the Aron is a good example. Because the Pasuk tells us, Shmot Perchatei, v'yatzakta lo arba tabos zahav, v'nasata al arba pa'amos sab. That they put these taba'os in the pa'amos of the Aron. What in the world are the pa'amos sab? So Rashi says, Zavioseha, the corners of the Aron. Pa'amos must mean corners, says the Ibn Ezra. The Ibn Ezra was obviously an expert in Tanakh, an expert in a lot of things, but he says, Chipasti b'chol mikra. I checked through all of Tanakh. V'lo matzasi pam shehuzav. And I never found a single pasuk where the pam means a corner. So I don't think this would be the exception. This would be on the corner. You never find that that's what the word means. The word in Hebrew doesn't mean corner. Rashi lashon red. So what is pam? What it means a red. A red. And he quotes several psukim in Yeshayahu, in Tehillim, in Shir Hashirim, Vayasam Luderech Pa'amav, Mayafu Pa'amayich in Shir Hashirim, where it clearly means a regel. So says the Ibn Ezra, okay, Shrakti Lefarish. So I have to say that the picture you have in your head of the Aron, you ever notice the picture you have in your head of the Aron is floating? Right? And just think for a second. Right? Is it on the floor? Why isn't the Aron on the floor in your mind? Because what kind of chutzpah would put the Aron on the floor? How could you put an Aron on the floor? It says the Ibn Ezra, exactly. It had legs. There's no way they put an Aron on the floor. Obviously it had legs, he said. Ki derech bizayon hu sheyeshev ha'aron ba'aretz. It would be a bizayon for the Aron to be on the floor. Oh, wild chiddush of the Ibn Ezra. Every picture you've ever seen of the Aron is completely inaccurate. It had legs. There's only one problem. There's a perfectly good Hebrew word for legs. Right, what's the perfectly good Hebrew word for legs? Regel, raglayim. Why does it call it the pa'amosad? The legs are there are several words in Lashon HaKodesh that have similar meanings. It's the nature of Lashon HaKodesh. And often when we translate them into English, we use the same word to translate them into English, but there's no overlap in Lashon HaKodesh. If you ever read, I guess, any Malbim, over up to any page in the Malbim, and that's essentially what he shows you. That there are multiple words that sound like they're saying the same thing, but they're not. They each have a slightly different mashma'us. They each mean something a little bit different than what what a similar type word means. Another example where a common image may have led us to an inaccurate understanding, and this is probably not from any Jewish books, this might be from other sources. Picture a malach in your head. What does an angel look like? So the truth is, we don't need to picture, the description is pretty clear in the Navi, although there are some steers. The Navi in Yeshayahu writes, B'shtayim yichase panav, b'shtayim yichase raglav, b'shtayim ya'ofei. That a malach doesn't have, I should have started with this, how many wings does a malach have, right? So you think, oh, an angel has 2 wings, right? If it's a big white giant wing, right? So no, says the Navi, a malach has 6 wings. 2 for flying, and the other 4 to cover the different body parts. 2 for the face, 2 for the legs. Now, why would an angel need to cover his legs? Meaning, is this like a tznius issue that he shouldn't wear shorts? So he's got, he's going to be davening to Hashem, he's going to sing, so he's got to cover his legs. What kind of, what is an angel? What does a malach need to cover his legs? Adrabah, we learn from the legs of an angel, we learn an important halacha. Right? What do we learn from the raglayim regel yesharim? Right? That their raglayim are together, they're straight. What do we learn from there? Right? That's how you stand in tefillah. So raglayim regel yesharim. So why would that be something that's worth covering up? Adrabah, we need to see that. That's a critical halacha. A third question, because we like to do 3 questions. Rashi on Koheles describes that when Shlomo HaMelech wanted to say an insult about the Rishayim, so Rashi says he referred to them by three different names. He referred to them as Chama, as Levana, and as Yam. Again, if I were to give you a random word grouping and say, what type of song do you think, let's say, let's pick songs. What type of song do you think these words came from? Right, so, there are certain words that, are unmentionable that you'll be able to say, oh, that's from like a rap song. That's from like, that's from a rock song. That's from a love song. That's from a Jewish song. That's from a Jewish song that happens to be able to song. That's from a Jewish song. That's not you'll be able to identify. You'll be able to identify somewhat just based on the tone. So let's play that game. Chama, Levana, the sun, the moon, the yam, the ocean. Gangster rap, right? No, what kind of Chama, Levana, Yam? What is that? What? A nursery rhyme? Okay, but something soft, right? Something soft. Maybe a love song, right? Something soft. It says Rashi, Shlomo HaMelech describes Rishayim. That's unexpected. The sun and the moon illuminate the world. The Yam is a thing of great beauty. There's a reason beachfront properties cost more than other properties. People like to look at the ocean. Where I live in North Woodmere, there's this disgusting pond that's just like this nasty water that all it does is if like Sandy comes, it destroys it. It comes up and destroys your house and goes back to looking disgusting. And there's a premium on the prices of houses right on that water. You know why? Because it's water. And just being on the water, no matter what, you're next to a puddle, but it's water. And being on the water means something to people. And yet, these are the words that Shlomo HaMelech used to describe Rishayim. Very difficult. So I heard from somebody, I don't remember, that the word pam is different than Rabbi. The word pam really means, what it really means is a step, a movement, a refusal to stay in one place. Vayasam l'derech pa'amah. It means legs, like the Ibn Ezra said. Yeah, legs, but not legs that are standing still. It means legs that are moving, that carry a person. The Pasuk tells us about Shimshon. V'tachal ruach Hashem lifa'amo b'machaneh dam. That Shimshon was moved, that the ruach Hashem lifted him and made him do something. Kleyakar explains, lifa'amo milashon p'sia, sheruach Hashem dachvaso liskadeh. The ruach Hashem made him go on and made him go weiter. So the Aron has legs, but it does not have raglayim. Raglayim are regular yeshar. Raglayim stand still. The Aron has pa'amosah, because the Aron represents a ben Torah. And a ben Torah, there are lots of symbolisms in the Aron about what a ben Torah is supposed to be. Most famously, of course, what's the most famous symbolism? What Tam Chacham is supposed to be from the Aron? Tocho Kebar, right? That we're supposed to be absolutely sincere. But the Aron, according to the Ibn Ezra at least, had legs. And the legs are called pa'amosah. Why? Because a ben Torah, one of the defining characteristics of a ben Torah is a ben Torah is always growing. He's always going to the next spiritual challenge. If a person has the same aspirations a decade apart, 2 decades apart from each other in his lifetime, he has failed miserably at life. There was a famous speech that was given years ago by a professor in Carnegie Mellon University, which I believe is in Pittsburgh. Any Pittsburghers? Is that true? Anyone know? Anyone ever hear of it? Yeah, true. Okay. So there was a professor who was dying, and he gave what's called the last lecture. This became huge. I don't know how many, I think it had something like 100 million hits on YouTube, and it was an hour long, not like a 30-second thing that gets 100 million hits, like a cat dancing or something. I mean, this was an hour of content, of meaningful content. And he went through this whole drasha about how he had all of these childhood dreams, and he went, and when he found out that he only had a few months to live, and he still had his kochos, he went about chasing each of his childhood dreams. He dreamed of playing in the NFL. Okay, he wasn't going to do that, but he got to walk on the field in a football stadium. So did I at the last year of Mashas. I got to walk on the field. But he got to do certain things, and he chased each and every one of his dreams. And it was extremely inspiring to many people. It became a best-selling book, translated into dozens of languages. I remember one of the Rabbanim in the New York area was told about this. You have to learn about this inspiring guy. He did, and the Rav's reaction was, "That's so sad." Yeah, it's sad that he died. No, It's so sad that all of his dreams from when he was 6 years old are the same dreams that he has when he's a man in his 40s and he's a man in his 50s. His dreams never changed. Like at your stage in life, you still want to play shortstop for the Yankees? I mean, come on. Not just because it's not realistic. Is that what you want to do with your life? You know, wouldn't you rather be a dentist than, say that yoga shear and like, is that what you want to do with your life? Those are your asados? That's what you dream about? That's what you think about? It's childish. For a kid to say that he wants to play shortstop for the Yankees, it's cute, it's nice, whatever, maybe nice, maybe not nice. But for an adult, it's sad, it's pathetic. You know, those guys that are 50-something years old and wear the team jerseys when their team is playing. That's what you want to be, right? That's your aspiration. It's sad. You know, I had the experience a number of times speaking to Talmidim. So many chashva Talmidim. Talmidei Yosef Mikulam. You learn so much from Talmidim. And sometimes, I remember when I first spoke to Rav Sachs, Shlita, about coming here, he was telling me, the teaching in high school is very good, and it's very enjoyable, and it's very nice, and you can have great hashpah. But the amount of hashpah you have when you're dealing with Talmidim at this stage of life it's on a different level, because the most important decisions are being made at this stage of life. So as Shiva said, this is when guys are deciding what to do for a living, who to marry, where to live. And sometimes Talmidim just want to make sure that things work, that it computes, that things add up. But every once in a while, you'll get that guy that will say, I want to know if that place that I'm putting myself is going to be a place of growth. It's going to be a place where I'm going to be able to steig. It's going to be a place where I'm going to be able to advance. A lot of times, one of the challenges the Rabbi in the yeshiva, in every yeshiva, I think in America, has, is that the challenges that we have is that Talmidim come back from they come back with the mindset of what can I do to keep what I got? What can I do to hold on to whatever growth I had in Eretz Yisrael? And if that's the question that you're asking, you've already failed. The question is never, what can I do to stay where I am, to keep what I've got? The question is always, what can I do to take the next step, to advance, to go stronger in my learning, to become a better Eved Hashem? Okay, it could be that my schedule in Eretz Yisrael was such that I was able to learn 14 hours a day, but now I have to start preparing for a profession, I have to start taking college classes. You have to be the same number of hours, but you're growing, you're advancing in your learning, you're advancing in your Avodas Hashem. You're understanding what it means to be an Eved Hashem when there are other pressures. And that's a tremendous madrega. But that's always the question. The question is, what do I do to grow? So the malachim have to cover up their legs. Ragleim regel yesharim. Because there's something about malachim, and that is that they don't change. They don't have the capacity for growth. They're wonderful, they're inspiring, but they're the same on the day that they were created years later. That's the pasuk in Zechariah tells us. V'nasati l'cha mahalchim bein ha'omdim ha'elam. The malachim are omdim. We are mahalchim. We get to move. So when Shlomo Melech wants to identify the characteristics of the Shaitan, he knows, to paint a picture of some sort of evil villain is not going to be helpful. Because you will meet people in your life who are very far from Torah mitzvos, who don't really, they're not with our program, and they don't seem evil. They don't seem terrible. And sometimes kind of impressive. So Shlomo Melech doesn't choose the image of some villain with, like the picture of the Russia and the Haggadahs, the illustrated Haggadah, with the earring and a goatee and not pointy eyebrows. Like when the parents is, the baby's born and the parent sees the kid has pointy eyebrow. Oh no, it's done, right? He's destined to be a Rush. No, a normal-looking person, the Yam, the Chama, the Levana. But you know what's interesting about those things? They're very beautiful. But the same sun that you see each day is the sun that we saw the previous day and has been seen in humanity for 5,779 years. The same is true of the moon and the same is true of the ocean. But a Jew, a tzaddik, is never the same from one moment to the next. If we see a tzaddik sin, what do Chazal tell us? Then by the next day you have to assume he's asa tshuva. They say al derech melitza that you assume by the next day he wrote a tshuva explaining why what he did was mutter. But no, but it means that he asa tshuva. You assume that by the next day he already did tshuva. Because a person who's constantly doing cheshbon nefesh, constantly thinking about how to grow, that's the way a person grows. The 3 Yom Tovim, the third of which we're about to celebrate, well, depending on your order, the second of which we're about to celebrate, 3 Yom Tovim are called the Shalosh Regalim. But when we refer to in Shemona Esrei, we don't just call them Regalim. Shalosh Ha'amei Regalim. Ha'amei. There are opportunities to move. There are opportunities not to be Raglei and Regel Yesharim. There are opportunities for growth. And certainly when it comes to the Yom Tov of Matan Torah. I have a friend, a good friend, Rabbi Yudin, he's a Talmud of the Rosh Yeshiva from many years ago. He said that a person could go to a wedding, and in a half a second you can identify the kala. Actually, I was invited to a Vart on Sunday, and the father of the kala invited me to the Vart. I didn't know anybody there. The father comes to my shiur sometimes, so I went to the Vart. And the father was in something. I saw nobody I knew. I couldn't even figure out who the chassan and kala are. You never have that problem at a wedding. How do you identify the kala? She's the one in the white dress, right? What about the chassan? How do you identify the chassan at a wedding? So, at these fancy black tie, whatever, so everyone's dressed the same way. Or even not a fancy black tie, everyone's wearing a nice suit. It's a wedding. How do you identify who the chassan is at? I remember the first time I was in Saudi Kiddushin at a wedding, the photographer started taking pictures of me, standing still like this. He thought I was the chassan. I was disappointed. I wasted a lot of time. I got a lot of nice pictures. But not with the college. So how do you identify the chassan at a wedding? So said Avandi Yudin, you know how you identify the chassan at the wedding? At the end of the wedding, who's the one that goes home with the college? That's the chassan. He's the one that at the end, when all the family and all the guests leave, he's the one that goes home with the kala. Shavuos is our chasana with the Torah. We can identify the kala very easily. The kala is all those svarim on the shelves in the base medrash. The kala we can identify. Who's going to be the chassan? Who's going to be the chassan? I remember once my brother told me he was at a particular shul and on Simchas Torah and they honored someone with chassan Torah. And the Rav of the shul leans over to my brother and says, this chassan is a Hasidic chassan. He's never met the kala before in his life. But who's going to be the chassan? The chassan is going to be the one that comes away from it. It took a second, all right. The chassan is going to be the one. The chassan is going to be the one that comes away with the Torah. Because that's really what every Yom Tov is about, is to remind ourselves that we have to be growing, that we have to be steiging. The Rosh Yeshiva mentioned before the inyan of Uman Kona B'Shvach Kli. Rav Soloveitchik is quoted by Rabbi Ginak, I think, in Akdam, it's one of his svarim, explaining a Rambam, that the Rambam writes that any malacha that an Eved is chayiv lasos l'rabo, a Talmud is chayiv to do for his Rebbe as well. Rav Soloveitchik said, I assume I'll be Drush, that I understand there's a kinyan that an Adon makes on an Eved. And that kinyan is mechayiv the Eved to do all of those malachas. Where's the kinyan that the Rebbe makes on the Talmud? What kind of kinyan did he ever make that's mechayiv the Talmud in all of those malachas? He said the kinyan is uman kona b'shvach kli. That the Rebbe hopefully has an impact on the Talmud's life, where the Talmud doesn't just go back to being the same. He's in front of the Rebbe and he gets what he gets and then he leaves and he goes back to being the same. The Rebbeim you have in yeshiva should have an impact on you, and you should have a connection with your amazing Rebbeim. You have an unbelievable, had and continue to have an unbelievable opportunity to learn from Gedolei Torah, Gedolei Midos, and to allow that to have an impact on the rest of your life. As you steig, as you go weiter in life, you should always feel, as I will, you should always feel connected to this yeshiva. Because this yeshiva is going to have it's very hard when you get out there. I was just talking to a Rav who's a Rav out of town somewhere. I already passed away. There's a Rav I'll close very soon. There's a Rav that's out of town somewhere. And he was all alone. And as far as all the Balabatim in his community knew, he was the greatest Talmid Chacham that they've ever seen. But anyone could have been the greatest Talmid Chacham they've ever seen. if he knew how to read Rashi script. He was the greatest Talmid Chacham they've ever seen. And he lost the image of what godless looks like because he wasn't around Gedolei Talmidei Chachamim. So he started believing. Everyone said, ooh, you know how to hold the siddur the right way. Ooh, very chashva. And you start believing it. And then you stop striking. You stop growing. You stop looking for more. This guy happens to be, he couldn't handle it. He moved back near his yeshiva, and he had to be near his rebbeim, took a cut in salary. Just, why? Couldn't handle it. So I implore you, you have Gedolei Torah that you're zocheh to learn from. You have an image of the Rosh Hashiva in your head. Imagine, next time you have to, someone asks you to say a chabura or something. Can you do it? Can you do it without a note in front of you? Can you do it? I can't. That means there's still more to grow. There's still more to know. There's still more to, there's a greater fluency that needs to be accomplished. It's not enough to just be someone who's loosely associated with Torah, but to be a ben Torah. To be someone that Torah drips from our pores throughout our entire lives. It's something that's such a tremendous zechus. I'm so thankful to the yeshiva for having given me, and to the Rosh Yeshiva in particular, over the last 3 years, to be able to interact with Talmidim who are at a stage in life where naturally you're growing, where naturally things aren't stable yet, things are moving, and perhaps just as much with Rabbi, who are role models for me, and I assume role models for all of you. Rabbi who aren't standing still, who care about you, care deeply about you, and care about the Ribono Shel Olam and becoming greater of the Hashem each and every day. Those relationships are the key to making sure that your aspirations in 10 years from now are not the same aspirations you have today. They're better, they're stronger, that you're not even going to be able to be massive. You couldn't be massive today what you'll have on your radar screen in 10 years from now. Because growth happens exponentially. You don't notice it when it's happening, but it happens exponentially. And you should always be able to come back to your rebbeim. You should always be able to look at them. Again, in particular, the Rosh Yeshiva Shlita, you should look at them for inspiration, for a picture of what godless looks like. And on a personal level, I certainly am so grateful for all of the opportunities to learn Torah together with you, to help in some small way as guys are making decisions in life and growing and learning and growing and being an Eved Hashem. There was a point 5 years ago where I just couldn't imagine ever leaving DRS. And it was, I was very comfortable, very happy. And the Rosh Yeshiva called me up and said, just come Thursday nights, give a shir on Thursday nights. Whatever topic, halacha or something. That Thursday night shir's been going on for 5 years. I think we had the last one already. I've been going on for 5 years. And it was just such a life-changing experience. To see Talmidim of a different madrega. There was a certain chiyus that I was able to derive from the Masur Matan Shel Halacha in those shiurim, and then having the opportunity to come and to learn with you on a it's just been a tremendous zechus. I want to thank all of you, and of course to thank all the Rebbeim, Chaverim, who I hope that I keep a close kasher with. And I can certainly say, if Uman Kona B'Shvach Kli, if a Rebbe is Kona Talmud B'Shvach Kli, I would hope to aspire to be the Shvach Kli that Rav Sachs was Kona me with all of the Torah that he's taught. Take advantage of those opportunities. And I look forward to being able to celebrate all of our milestones together and all of our growth together and becoming greater and greater Avdei Hashem.